All right, we're back here with the Golden Valley Views KU football, podcast, and looks like two guys in there were able to call. I thought they were being pessimistic, and they ended up calling the fact that KU is going to lose to TCU. Boys, how do you feel?
Not great about that one. I mean, I figured we were going to lose, and we covered, so that's true. We kept it competitive against a team that clearly had a lot more talent than we did. So I've had a day to think about it, and I'm less mad, but still a little pissed because we should have won the
game. I'm a little frustrated. The game went exactly how I predicted, going down the field in the fourth. Couldn't get it done. But, it just felt like the game was winnable. We were there. And just walking away with like a moral victory just doesn't sound right anymore. It doesn't sit right with me.
That's true. It is. Let's get this out of the way. Everyone knows that there was a few missed calls. There was the horse call, the horse collar tackle that they missed. I remember being on the field and looking at that. I was like, that's a horse collar. Like, horse collars are illegal. I asking people around me. I was like, pretty sure that's
the hold was immediate. The missed hold was immediately after.
Yeah, missed hold, and then what was the other one? I think a pass interference, right?
Yeah, the PI on the last play. Like, even the broadcasters were saying, like, they're just like, I don't know about that. Looks like the refs missed something there. But the entire game, they didn't throw flags pretty much the entire time, so it's hard to ask for one there.
Yeah, for me, I just saw that when I was watching the game I think another one was they called a couple catches not in our favor. Like, I thought the interesting was Quinn Skinner's second one that he caught deep where he was on the side. I think it was a sideline catch that they called back, and it was late in the game that he literally went up. He had his like whole foot. It looked like there. I just think this was because KU doesn't have enough cameras, so there's literally one angle of the replay.
Yeah, that catch that they didn't call a catch, that was more of a catch than that touchdown that Skinner caught that they upheld.
Dude, Skinner did not score.
Yeah, I thought his knee was out, and I thought the only reason that got called a touchdown was because they called it a touchdown on the field.
Oh, absolutely. It's because they called it on the field when I was in the corner of the stadium that catch happened, and literally everyone around me is looking at each other just like, that wasn't a catch. Like, how'd they call that a touchdown? What are they seeing that we didn't? But, every review they had, they're just like, yeah, play stands. It's like we can't confirm or overturn anything that they called.
Yeah, I think this is someone said it. I don't know if it was somebody, it might have been one of you guys or it might have been another place, but I heard somebody said that the referees felt like it was okay to call this stuff because they're used to KU being a bad football team, so KU shouldn't be here.
That wasn't any of us, but I can see how someone would come to that point based on a couple of the really egregious missed calls at the end of the game. Now, I'm not saying that decided the game purely, because obviously there was a whole lot more that we can talk about, but it was a big factor at the end of the game.
Jalon Daniels' fumble at the 1 yard line is what lost us the game. I will fight. I will die on that hill that if Jalon Daniels had scored that, we might have had, we would have lost maybe by a field goal or we would have been able to win that game because we should have scored right there. And the worst part is last drive, Kai Thomas had fumbled and Kai Thomas was not in the game for the whole entire drive. But the one play that he does come back in for, to be in the game after fumbling the last series, Jalon Daniels fumbles.
Ball security is just the number one issue with our team. Like, I know we run options and do a whole bunch of stuff that's risky, but I feel like our running backs and Jalon Daniels, there's been a few issues where it's just they're trying to – they forget to hold on to it. Because I'd say – I look back, we had 4 fumbles this game. We lost 1. But every game we've had at least 1 or 2 fumbles. We didn't lose them, but we had them. And it's starting to concern me a little bit.
Yeah, if you have 4 fumbles in a game, most of the time you're not going to win. We're lucky that we recovered all but one of those because that could have completely changed the outcome of the game if TCU recovers 3 of those 4 instead.
Yeah, I feel like just going into this week's practice, the emphasis will be carrying the ball. I mean, a lot of it can be chalked up to guys not playing together a ton. Like Kai Thomas has been out for a few games, and so there was a mesh play that was up high on him with Jalon Daniels, and then there was a pitch by Jason Bean with Kai Thomas that just wasn't there, and then I think Devin Neal had one with Jason Bean. And it was just like those are just not having enough time together, not getting enough reps, and so hopefully we iron that out. That would be my biggest concern going into OU is just us not shooting ourselves in the foot with something like that.
Sorry for my disappearance. I wanted to bring this over. I have the game notes from the game by the numbers that they hand out to the media. And so listen to this. This game was, the first time that they had played each other. TCU and KU had played each other undefeated and top 20 ranked foes against each other in the booth. The last time that this had happened was October 1st, 1960. But I think the problem with our team was, you remember what we said last year? I don't think we can play the middle of the field. And this comes back to my thought of, was it with you guys that we were talking about? Why does Navy always run, this triple option and this type of, and military schools run heavy offense? And it's because their linemen are 260, 280 pounds because everyone's going into the service. They're not 300, 350, pound big old stone walls. So they have to play with speed and athleticism. And I think, yes, KU got bigger and deeper, but we didn't physically get bigger. Like, we don't have, like I said this during the game watching, I was like, TCU's offensive line was probably 2,000 pounds. And our offensive line was probably 1,000 pounds if we combined every player, by weight. I think their TCU was just a considerably country thicker, just big boys, while ours were maybe quicker. And at the end of the day, when you're playing with speed, you can't go north and south. So it's we're afraid to run, afraid of the middle of the field in passing and throwing. That's my rant.
I mean, I do agree that we're avoiding the middle of the field, but yeah, it's got to be we're a little undersized right now. I feel like with our tight ends and using fullbacks, stuff like that, we're able to move guys around a little bit better than in the past. It's we're getting there. We're not quite there to Big 12 line standards, but we're on our way.
Yeah, it really just comes down to just the physical differences. When you look at somebody like Oklahoma or Texas or TCU and you compare them to let's just throw out some random teams like Toledo or Akron, even though those schools aren't military schools, it's just they're just bigger. They have 330-pound defensive linemen. They got big hog mollies up front. We just don't have that level of physical talent, I guess, if you want to call it, yet. We can still compete because we have talented players in a lot of positions, especially skill positions. But when you just can't get anything going up the middle and you can only gain 2 yards a carry when you're trying to run a halfback dive, it sucks because it limits what you can do on 3rd and short.
So for me right here is, okay, so I think this is something we kind of went over last video, is that I feel like we try too much to so we play to the outside. We don't really play in the middle of the field. But I feel like something we kind of talked about, but not really, was I feel like KU tries to do too much every game, but doesn't stick to the basic. We had, the option has worked all year for us, but we didn't really go to the option until the second half. And then we started having some success. We ran that 3-back look where we have the quarterback and then 3 backs. We didn't run that till the second half when all season we've had success. I don't get why it feels like we're still experimenting in the first half, and then we'll go back to our bread and butter. I don't know what your guys' thoughts. Maybe that's just me because of, we'll get to this in a second, Jalon Daniels AC separation. But what is your thoughts on the thing that Do you guys agree with me that KU still feels like they're experimenting on figuring out what plays work?
I think they're spending most of the first half trying to set up the explosive play for the second half. Like we're just kind of, I don't know. Don't want to say playing vanilla in the first half, but it feels like we're doing so much to be like, all right, you got to respect this, you got to respect that, and then second half comes around, we'll just throw curveballs at them, and I don't know. That's how it appears to me. But I want to hear what you guys have to say.
I don't know if it's just more of an experimental thing. I think Lance was just trying to establish the running game going in the first half, not just with the options, but he was just trying to establish the running game and didn't want to take as many deep risks downfield in what he thought was going to be a low-scoring game. At least that's what the impression that we got from the first half was. And I think at the start of the second half, I think he wanted to do more of the same, but once TCU started scoring super quickly, he realized that he couldn't do that. I don't know if it's like we're trying to run a vanilla offense. I think Lance is just trying to adjust with game flow and game script, and he's maybe didn't do as good of a job of that last week as we saw in the previous 5.
My whole thing is I don't understand the management of players. I don't get why we kept giving the ball to Kai Thomas when every time Sevion Morrison got the ball, he fucking went. I didn't understand that. It was like every time Sevion Morrison got the ball, he went. Why were we continuing to give the ball to Kai Thomas, who's not had success? I don't know. I think, because I'm also confused on, I don't know if you guys are aware, is Lance Leipold actually Leopold? Is it Leipold or Leopold? I always fuck this up. Someone threw me off this weekend. I used to say it right, and then it's Leipold, right?
Yeah, Leipold.
Leipold. Okay, someone fucked me this weekend. But Coach Leipold, he how did I put this? I don't know if he's calling plays or obviously coaches can always overrule, but is it Andy Kotelnicki calling
I
them?
think Kotelnicki calls the plays, but like him and Kotelnicki and Leipold are pretty much on the same page of like, hey, if we get a 4th and 3 or less, we're going for it. Or like they know the yardage that they want to do. Like play calling, they're usually on the same page with. At least that's what I've heard from other people who are a little closer.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, that's how like a lot of.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was just trying to make a point. I was just adding to Owens. Like a lot of offensive coordinators, I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, Lance sets the actual game plan and plan of attack, and I think Kotelnicki has a range of plays that he'll choose from depending on situation, down, things like that. I think it's a mix of both.
So moving forward, now we'll get back to the recap. Like as just talking. Part of the recap for the game is TCU knocked out our man Jalon Daniels with an AC separation, and this leads us into the preview for Oklahoma, which I believe is a very easily winnable game because Oklahoma looks like they're the basement dwellers of the Big 12 now. But my real thing is it's an AC separation is when the clavicle, your collarbone separates from your scapula, which I believe is like part of your shoulder. And if it's not any torn ligaments, it can be 1 to 6 weeks. We've seen guys recover from sooner rather than later. Someone said, I think it was you, Luke, that Bryce Young and Quinn Ewers suffered this injury.
And they both missed Bryce Young's missed 2 weeks. Quinn Ewers did miss 2 weeks and returned in the Texas game or the Oklahoma game. But Bryce Young has missed the last 2 games with that same injury.
So what is your thoughts on the injury, Owens and Luke? And that will lead us into our Oklahoma preview.
So with Jalon Daniels' injury, I feel like he lost confidence with this little bit of a hand injury. I know people said it wasn't like a big deal or anything, but he's kind of went down slope ever since that happened against like the Houston game. And then after this AC, I say you just like Jason Bean showed up Like, we go with the healthiest QB at the time. Like, I mean, from my perception, there's not a huge talent difference between those two. So always go with the healthy quarterback.
Can you elaborate? What do you mean Jalon Daniels has gone down? Maybe from from a stat sheet or something. Like people wouldn't see that, but I can kind of see where you're saying. Like I feel like he has been little less gun shy in the last few games.
Yeah, he just kind of like, I think it was the Houston game. He hit his hand on someone and it was just like kind of shaken up. And he just hasn't had that confidence ever since and overthrew a few guys. And just his decision making has been a little more fuzzy. But it could be just going into tougher competition and have nothing to do with the hand. I have no stats to back it up. I've just kind of noticed we went about 4 quarters there without scoring a point, or we scored 3 points between the end of the Iowa State game, the second half, and then the first half of TCU. So, think about.
But yeah, as to take it back to what Owens was saying about Jason Bean, and obviously Jalon Daniels is our guy. That's our quarterback. But if he's not 100%, and like if he's not 100%, or maybe if he's close to 100%, but still not as good enough as Bean, you don't want him to go out there hurt and then screw over the team or aggravate his injury again. If he is not ready to go like at a high level, there's no reason not to trust Bean. He's shown he can do it. And we've got a tough part of our schedule coming up, and we need to have the guy who's most ready to play. And if that's not Jalon Daniels, then it's not Jalon Daniels.
I agree. We need the most healthy guy to come play. I think the thing is with Jason Bean, I don't know what Jason Bean's strong suit is besides running. Jason Bean, as we guys know, is the fastest guy on the team, and obviously utilizing him in any sort of running play is the best thing we can do. But in the passing game, he had a couple misses on some intermediate passes that you're just like, and the thing is like, okay, so watching Jason Bean, I think my problem with Bean is I think he fights the urge to always run. I think his first thought when he snaps a ball is, I'm gonna run. But he fights the urge. So you see him and he's like, okay, I can't run. I can't run yet. So then he does this very overacted reading of the field. He'll be like, I'll be like, that's just not how you read it. I know that you read a field like that, but a real quarterback doesn't overly look. And I feel like he always waits too late to throw the ball. He throws the ball at the last second.
Yeah, like most quarterbacks, when they're reading the field, it's quick glances in one direction or other to go through your progressions. And another thing, that's why he, one, struggles to hit checkdowns, like that terrible miss on, it was the last drive when Devin Neal had that screen pass, the check down pass in the flat. If he makes that throw, Devin Neal's running for a first down inside the TCU 15. Or he just won't take the checkdowns because he just wants to scramble. And that's a problem that a lot of running quarterbacks have. And obviously he can throw deep, but we're just looking for consistency over the next few games from him.
I mean, the arm strength that he showed off during the game on those deep throws was like, okay, you got to respect him going deep. And so safeties can't really creep up as much. But yeah, he definitely does that. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm allowed to run the ball. Going through his progressions. And so, I mean, missing Devin Neal sucks at the end of the game. But, I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. Just keep practicing to get there. Because that's a tough throw to make. I mean, it's a floater over the D line out to the side. And nerves from everyone, even Devin Neal probably trying to make that catch.
I will say one thing. That's not the play I was more pissed about. It was I believe, turnover on downs. He had Luke Grimm and Mason Fairchild both open in the end zone, middle of the field. I have a noodle arm. I can't throw a football that far, but I could have made that fucking throw. It literally, he snapped. We were at the middle. Literally, it was a crossing route, and I think a post over the middle. Both Fairchild and Grimm perfectly over top one another. He had two guys in the middle, but he was literally just looking. That's another thing. He stares at one side, like stares at his targets too. So like, I think Bean had his benefit because nobody really was game planning for him. But I mean, I'm just scared. I'm scared that I was talking to someone and looking at this. If we look at the Oklahoma game, I think we can beat the Oklahoma game, but someone I was talking to in the press box was like, if we lose this game and we lose to Oklahoma, like the booth is going to be empty next home game. If we lose to Oklahoma and then it'd be OSU right after that or Baylor?
We got Baylor on the road, and then we got the next home game at OSU.
Yeah. So if we lose to Oklahoma, we'd probably lose to Baylor. If we lose to Oklahoma, we're definitely losing to Baylor, which would I don't.
Well, Baylor's better than Oklahoma, so yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hope that doesn't happen. But let's talk about Oklahoma. Can this be? We need a statement win right here. We need to beat down Oklahoma, recharge the juices. Thoughts?
We need to just beat the crap out of them. Like, there's no other option. We got to go in there, win by 21. Like, I saw the line open up. Oklahoma's a 7-point favorite.
Yeah, they are. Isn't that ridiculous?
Like, I get you. We're going to OU. We're going to Norman.
No.
They're going to be pissed off 0-3. Their crowd's going to be upset. But how are we underdogs again? It's got to be the Jalon Daniels is out. That has to be the only reason.
Yeah, and because their starting quarterback is supposed to be coming back from his concussion 2 weeks ago. Dylan Gabriel, because he got knocked out of the game a couple weeks ago. He didn't play last week, and they got slaughtered. Him coming back is a big reason why they're as favored as they are, and Daniels probably isn't playing, but still, they have looked awful. Even when Dylan Gabriel played, they got beat down by K-State. So are they really 7 points better than us? I don't think so.
So that's where I'm going into this. Like, I think for us to stay ranked, okay, we need to beat them down. But the second thing is, with this, I look at the situation and I think this, okay, if Jason Bean's our quarterback, or if it's Jalon Daniels, whoever it's going to be, we need to this has got to look like the Tennessee Tech game, okay? We got to make Oklahoma look like Tennessee Tech. And I think it is possible. I think Oklahoma's a dumpster fire right now. And it's can the SEC revert on the decision and tell Oklahoma we're good, we don't need you?
They should. They should just be like, yeah, you don't get your invite anymore. We're taking Kansas. They're obviously the powerhouse of the Big 12 in football and basketball. So, yeah, sorry, you lost your invite.
Yeah, we only wanted Lincoln Riley, to be honest.
USC to the SEC confirmed. It has to happen now.
To carry us to the rest of the year, I think this team will go to a bowl game. But with that being said, how do we look? How big of a week is this Oklahoma game, do you guys think?
I think this OU game carries a lot of weight. Like you said, if we lose to OU and go to Baylor and lose, and then I believe we have a bye week before OSU. But, man, if we come back against OSU and it's like, they're probably the best team in the Big 12, being honest.
For sure.
And so that puts us in a very sticky situation, like flashbacks to 2009, starting 5-0 and ending with a record I would not like to say. So.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that year. But I mean, it's a big game. I mean, of course, I'd be stupid not to say it's a big game. But I really don't think this game is that much bigger than any other game that we have on our schedule coming forward. I think every game at this point matters, regardless of whether it's Oklahoma or Oklahoma State or K-State. I think every single game matters for this team because they're one win away from doing what hasn't been done in so long. So every game, I think, carries that type of weight, not specifically this Oklahoma one.
Yeah, I want to kind of backtrack on what I said just a second ago. Every game is, like, I think from the fans' perspective, we're all scared of going back to what we've seen, what we know. And so to us, it's a bigger game than it probably is in general. Like objectively, it's not as big as what I think or what I'm scared of.
Yeah, I just think the other thing with this coming game is I think this was a wake up call to the players that I think that maybe all the success maybe got to their head with the TikToks and all that other flamboyant shit they did on social media. I don't want to sound like an old timer right there, but I did. And I think it was just a wake up call that like, bro, yes, we're having success, but stop acting like you guys are fucking going to the natty. And I think if we're gonna go out and win something this year, like a bowl game, it's going to be because our defense transforms. I think that at the end of the day, Lonnie Phillips, Craig Young, what we got, Kenny Logan, Jacoby Bryant, those guys need to, continue to be stepping up and get their teammates to step up to have defense close games so that when our offense does waver, we have a defense that can continue to be opportunistic. Thoughts? Any closing thoughts or anything else you want to say for the looking ahead to the future for Oklahoma, the rest of the season, etc. as we close this episode?
Just going off that defense comment, like I was pretty happy with our defense this game because I thought it was going to be high scoring the entire time. So first half, I was thrilled with that. But they're doing their job. They're getting better and better every week. You just see like Lonnie Phelps just excites me. Like even though he gets like an offsides every week, I'm just like, I'll take that for the sacks he gets, the energy he brings. He flies all over the field. I love that guy. He's so much fun to watch.
Oh, for sure. And again, sticking with the defense theme, they showed flashes. That Iowa State game, phenomenal defensively. The first half in the TCU game, phenomenal. They've shown glimpses of being opportunistic, but it's about locking down and being able to shut teams down. If we can hold if we can hold like in 3 of our like remaining games, we can hold 3 of our teams to under 20 points. That's a sign that our defense is there. But we just got to see it week by week. They just got to keep improving.
Yeah, the one thing on the defense, there was 3 straight drives against TCU that they scored on. One, they started
at
and
R25. All of those would have been it.
Well, it was all short field. So one was on R25. One was at midfield when we kicked the ball out of bounds. I don't know what our kicker was up to this week. And then there was another one that started at R39. And so it was just like, okay, like these short fields, of course they're scoring on it.
That's literally so at the press conference. Go, Luke.
Oh, I was just adding on to what he said. I mean, and it was the fact that not only did they score all of them, they scored all of those, like on all those drives in literally less than 2 minutes. So they were scoring and they were getting big plays. So it was a combination of both, just really just turned the game on its head.
I mean, yeah, Lance said in the press conference that he liked what the defense did he was impressed how the defense played for the amount of short fields the defenses were given. They played very well, and he thought the same thing was a continuation of last game, that he thought really nothing bad about the defense. The one thing I would say about the defense is on the goddamn screenplay where the guys were literally looking at their feet, Jacoby Bryant and everyone, they literally weren't set. Our like defense wasn't even set. Threw a screen pass, guy runs 40 yards for a touchdown. Weren't even set.
And the missed tackles, man, there were so many of this game. That was the killer part of our defense. They showed a stat, and it was like halfway through the third quarter, and they showed the missed tackles, and TCU had like 8, and we had like 13. And there was still a few more at the end of the game in the fourth quarter. It was just, that's got to clean up.
Yeah, the missed tackles, when I was in the stadium, like, this is so bad, we can't wrap up. And then rewatching it today, saw those stats pop up. And the announcers kept saying that they made Oklahoma miss. They're making everyone else miss too. So it wasn't necessarily a Kansas issue, but still something we need to work on. Like, I feel like we just don't – our secondary struggles to wrap up.
All right, boys. So to close this longest episode of Golden Valley Views, I want to hear your closing arguments for whatever you want to say for Oklahoma, the TCU game, Jalon Daniels. I think the key to success moving forward is finding a good combination, regardless of who the quarterback is, but being able to balance the run and the pass and not, playing so skittish. I think that's something on offense that at times we started the games a little too conservative. And we kind of just, I think we need to start taking some big shots early on a bit more. And I think the defense, if we can just keep doing what we're doing, I think we're good. Just an offense, stop giving, defense so many short fields. Boys, your closing arguments?
I guess to piggyback off of that, I think the biggest thing for next week's game is not just balancing the run and the pass, but balancing where we're running and passing. Like, we have to have a balanced attack. We can't just, the only times that we really threw over the middle of the field for most of the game was anything like 15 yards plus. Like, we just got to balance where we're trying to attack this Oklahoma defense. You got to keep them guessing. You can run it. Like, I know we've struggled to run up the middle, but that doesn't mean we have to abandon it, especially against a team that's reeling. Balanced attack is going to be the key to beating Oklahoma and Baylor in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I like the idea of taking shots early in the game, make them kind of respect that. And then I loved the play by Jason Bean. I'd love to see this more, where he rolls out to one direction. So he's rolling out to the left and throws back over to the right to Fairchild. No one was near him. And so if we make them have to cover deep, short, left, and right, that's going to leave for Devin Neal to just do what Neal does. He's going to have the entire field to just play with. So I think being a little more diverse in what we're doing is going to help us
out. I agree. And I think we need to really, one thing Devin Neal, he can run any direction, but Devin Neal's clearly more of a go through the tackles guy. I really think we need to utilize if Daniel Highshaw's out for the year, let's utilize the different skill sets each of our backs have. Like, we didn't see Terry Loughlin this game. And you know how good Terry Loughlin's been on the screen pass? The last 2 games they haven't used Loughlin. Let's get the screen pass going again with Loughlin. We saw how deadly that was. But, yeah, I think, like you said, if we can have a multifaceted offense where I think are what would be it? The unpredictability of our offense at times could work in our favor.
I'm gonna end this with some Sevion Morrison propaganda. Give the man more touches. He had a 40-yard run in the first half and then didn't get the ball again for almost another quarter. Give him more touches.
This is a pro Sevion Morrison show.
Absolutely. I'm in on Torrey Loughlin as well. I think he's higher up on the depth chart than Kai Thomas should be. I think Savion and Torrey Loughlin, if they're on either side of Jason Bean, I'm scared as a defense. If you have those 3 staring at you from the backfield, I'm like, oh, we're in some trouble.
Legitimately. All right, boys. That was this week's
just so much speed.
Literally so much. I mean, he was a state champ in track and field. People forget about that. Like he said, if he didn't play football, he would have tried to be a professional track and field runner. Like he wanted to be an Olympic track athlete. So when you have that type of speed, you got to take advantage. But that's it for Golden Valley Views. I'm Ciro, Owens, Luke. Hope you guys, what are you guys doing? Are you going to come in town, Luke, or not Luke, Owens for the next weekend?
I think I'm having some people over at my place. I tweeted out in July if KU wins 6 wins this season, we're having a kegger at my mom's house. So stay posted to that.
Will do, Betty.
There we go. Love to see it.
All right, boys. I'll see you guys around and Rock Chalk Jayhawk, right?
Yep.
Rock Chalk, baby.
Peace, boys.
Peace.